I want to start a short series on rethinking projects, about what we mean by projects and how change actually happens. And the start point for this one is about a framework called 5 Elements, which we use intensively in our own work. What we're after is a method or a framework, a governance framework, that works exactly the same way at every scope, at every scale, for any type of context, for any type of content. Because we've got so many different methods that we use for different projects and different types of contexts that it gets hopelessly confusing if we don't have something to link them all together. So if we look at the project life cycle, the classic sequence of forming, storming and norming, it continues on to performing and then adjourning, the wrap up at the end of a project cycle. But we talk about it as being a cycle because in fact it's not just a one-off. We don't just go from forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning, but we loop back round. We continually do new projects. One project leads to another. So that sequence of forming, storming and so on gives us what we might think of as 5 spaces around a core. In each of these spaces we're collecting different types of information as we do a change. So that the first one is what we might call purpose, forming an idea. What's our purpose here? What's the context? What's the why that underpins it? What are the constraints that we need to use? What are the definitions of what success would look like? How do we know what some kind of outcome, successful outcome, what would that look like? What would it feel? Well, how would we find out what that's going to be? The next area, the storming phase, is also we tend to call people. It's about, rather than about context, about big picture, we're now coming back down to scopes for action. Finding out things that we can usefully do about whatever it is we've brought into as a question. We look at who the stakeholders are here. We look at who is going to be involved. We also need to look at things like skills, because skills are often absolutely critical and cannot be just simply bought out of the box, particularly when a skill is in high demand or takes a long time to learn. So in that people space, we look at scopes for action, we look at who's going to be involved in a kind of RASI sense, responsible, accountable, consulting, engaged, and what the skills and uncertainties are. We then move on to preparation, about where the plan comes from, about how are we going to do whatever it is we're going to do. And we work our way down from most abstract to most concrete as we bring it down towards something happening for real. In the next area, we actually move into action. This is in real time, it's happening in the now, it's what's going on right now. What information are we capturing about what's going on? We're looking for evidence and also for how we deal with things that don't fit our expectations, because that's also the place where we capture insights. Then finally we have the performance space, where we're looking for outcomes, choices and commitments for change. What are the lessons learned here? How can we use what we've done to learn what to do next? Now, connecting all of these together is a kind of central space, a kind of pivot, what we sometimes call the atrium, which is about coordination, about sequence, about priorities, about what we're going to choose to do next. Which things have to come first? How do we decide how to move things around? So we've got these 5 spaces around a core: purpose, people, preparation, process and performance, around this central core of how things work together. And that gives us something that works roughly the same way every scope, every scale, every context, every type of content. That helps us start to rethink how we do projects right from the start.